here's the order that we're going through. There's a lot of new people around this time. Uh, David at the visuals cutting out. That's probably on me. That's probably just a lot of things I'm doing here. But as people start getting picked, we'll be able to update on the draft as it happens, show some pictures, talk about some of the people that come up. Uh, Jason, is there anything crazy gonna come around this time in the draft? Any surprising picks? Is there anyone who you already think is just insane with their first two, with their captain co-captain pairing? Anyone, any strong hot takes for this season?
Um, I mean, other than me feeling stoked that Kishor was able to drop down to the 9th person picked,
Yeah,
um,
that's kind of wild.
I was licking my fingers when that was coming up to me. So I was like, please, come on, guys, keep going, keep going. So I'm pretty stoked about that. I'll be honest. Otherwise, I think nothing was crazy. Maybe a little bit of the Dallin craziness, but at this point, that's not really crazy. So
No, not at
come to
all.
expect things like that.
Any any big lesson from last draft that you think captains are gonna apply here?
I'll
I
be
know.
honest,
Oh yeah.
no. Um, I think with the amount of turnover that there's a decent amount of different players and a different kind of skill level between this versus last league. Um, so I think it'll be really interesting to see how it plays out because I think the first 3.5 rounds are pretty strong players all the way around, and then there's a lot of newer players beyond that. Versus last draft,
Yeah.
it was pretty consistent. Like one round to the next was slightly more experienced than the previous, or than the
Yeah, yeah,
next.
yeah.
So
There
it'll be
is
very
such a
interesting to see how
big,
it plays out.
yeah, a huge drop off to a lot of new people, and I am so excited for it. Like the scramble, I was kind of glad I didn't play in the scramble because I got to watch a lot of the lower nets, and there are so many new people who are like, they've played a bunch. They played some backyard spike ball. They played casual spike ball with their friends. Haven't really done a lot of competition yet. Who like when they were losing a lot of their games in the scramble, they all almost across the board were coming out of it with this like enthusiasm to play the league and to get better, you know? And that's so cool to me. There's so much excitement in the newer players of the league to get paired with good captains like Jason Small, who recently got Premier. You know, a lot of good captains like that. I'm excited for that, and sorry for the people who are gonna get Dallin James as their captain, who's been hard stuck contender for like 7 years. But definitely an exciting league ahead of us with the amount of new people we have. Uh, I hear that the first pick hasn't happened yet because they have everyone but Trevor. Trevor being the first pick. Oh, Trevor's here. They're getting the first pick ready. What's your prediction? Who's
Wow.
the first round pick gonna be?
I think I have a feeling, a sneaky suspicion that we might have back-to-back leagues with none other than Quang as the first overall pick.
That's
Although kind of not really first overall since there's kind of the co-captain round, but we can still call it a first round pick if that is the way
I'm
that it is.
I think Quang would love for us to call it the first round pick, if I'm being honest here. Uh, it it looks like I don't think anyone ever took over editing, so I guess I'll keep editing. But Quang is the first round pick by Trevor. So Quang's only request for playing the league last season has been met again, which is he just doesn't want to be picked last. So
He's
everyone's trying to
two for
keep him
two.
in. Yeah,
2 for 2 on that streak. And
man.
honestly, considering realistically he did drop a full round here. So if he plays for another 6 leagues, he might end up being that last overall pick. So there is a solid chance. and I really hate that for him. So hopefully he'll just stop playing from here on.
Yeah, I love Quang as a first round pick because A- and I feel like Quang will forgive me if I throw him under the bus a little. I feel like Quang's a little like me, where I don't see him getting any better in the next couple months. I feel like he's plateaued for a little bit. He's done his improvement in the past. He's at where he's at, but he's such a solid stand up person that all the captains know he's just such a boon to have on your squad for just the general vibe of the squad. Although
Oh,
we were able to see with Andrew's squad last season that
vibes don't
vibe
translate necessarily.
vibes do not get you on the podium. So we'll see if Trevor can make the podium with vibes this time around. And oh my goodness, that is a surprising pick to me. I feel like Dak picks Victor in the next round. I feel like Victor's kind of flown under the radar the last month. He's kind of dipped from the competitive scene and the pickup scene a little bit. What do you think? Is that a surprising pick or is that a
That's a pretty surprising pick. Yeah, not that Victor, there's anything wrong with Victor, but
no,
I
no, no,
definitely,
no.
yeah, I think there's been a little bit of him playing a little bit less than some of the other people who are still around to be taken. Um, so it is something I wasn't expecting that. But I mean, if Victor was around later on, he was definitely somebody I was thinking about. It wasn't something I was like, oh, I've never picked Victor. No, I was like,
Yeah, yeah.
well, maybe I could
I
get him as a
definitely
sleeper
expected
somewhere.
him. Yeah, I definitely expected him in the first round, but as a second pick, it was wow. That's interesting. I feel like Victor has he's someone who I played against him a lot, and he has such a high ceiling, especially his serves. His serves are a little unorthodox. They kind of he hip fires them a little bit with a ton of power, and if they're hitting, I feel like I get aced by him more than any other non-premier player in Seattle. Like if his serves are hitting, his serves are ridiculously fast and hard to get a beat on. And so if he's on with his serves, he also has that athleticism that he's able to make some crazy defensive plays as well. So he's
It's
definitely
all
someone who can prove himself as a second round pick this season or
first
a
round pick.
second pick. Yeah, yeah, a second pick is
Come
what I
on.
meant. But yeah, yeah. My bad, my bad. Warming up.
I mean, technically on screen it says first round, but that's fine. Yeah, I think there's definitely that boom potential where the ceiling is there for sure. If he gets consistent and he's playing a lot, he's got the sneaky ability. And we got back to back quick picks here with Derek taking Chucho.
I love
Derek
that so
hanging with the
much.
squad there with
Eric,
Eric and Chucho.
yeah, Derek's I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure Derek, Eric, and Chucho might have all gone to high school together.
I
Wh-
think so.
And so he's just building up his I don't know. I feel like this squad feels almost a little like nepotism, but I could be wrong. A lot
I think
of
that's not how nepotism works,
no,
but
I know, but that's the only word that comes to mind here. But definitely there he's
favoritism.
going again. He's going for the synergy squad, if I remember. That's what it was called last season. He, he went for some synergistic picks, and I feel like I'm not in a position to question his picks after
He
I
did
predicted
end
him
up,
as one of the worst squads, and
yeah,
he very much exceeded my expectations and had a dominating season, a strong first place, and so
strong. Yeah.
very
whooped
strong.
us, whooped us in the playoffs, where I was
Yeah.
not expecting that. So
Oh yeah,
yeah,
you lost to him. You were knocked off by him.
oh, he freaking destroyed us. Yeah,
Yeah.
um,
Why'd you lose to
he
him?
beat us
What
in the first
happened?
3 rounds, and then we swept him in round 4, which was absolutely meaningless. But he smoked us. That day that was their day.
I, sorry, I felt like we could talk longer on that because I was waiting on the next pick, but then I realized that that's my slot.
That
I
is
made
you.
my
Yeah,
pick. Uh, Evan Cox as well. Evan Cox, you were able to have him on your squad.
Evan's
Evan
my
is a
guy.
beast.
It hurts.
I
It hurts to see him not on my squad. I'll be honest. I'm not a
Yeah,
fan of it.
you kind of got dropped really far in the draft order. If you had been higher up, would you have gone for him? Is he someone
Oh,
you would have
100%.
targeted with like the second or third pick of the draft?
Realistically, I probably would have taken him first.
Yeah, he's solid. He is so athletic. His defensive potential is outstanding. I kind of see the same thing in the few times I played with James. I just grabbed James. James, the first time I saw him play was when he subbed for my squad in our final match of the season last season, and James blew my mind. He is so athletic. His defense is so good, and he is such a big like he's such a high energy player, which you've seen me play. A lot of the people in the stream have seen me play. I I
Unfortunately.
I play off of hype. I yell a lot. If I'm at a tournament and I'm doing well, you should be able to hear that I'm doing well from like all over the field. So James is right up there with me on that. So James and I are gonna be yelling a lot this season.
I'm a fan of the James pick. I think he's got some really good initial kind of intuition on defense that he's in a lot of places. There's been some times where he's been playing and the conversions are just not
Mm.
quite there, but the opportunities and the touches that he's getting are super
Oh
there.
yeah.
And he's very,
He,
very close to getting those. So if he can just kind of nail those a little bit more, he'll be a super solid player on defense for sure.
Yeah, no, and I agree with that completely. I don't know if he's here in the stream or not, but I'll just assume he's okay with me going after him here. He strikes me as someone one of the reasons I like him as a pick for myself. He strikes me as someone who has some things to learn still, but doesn't actually have a lot of bad habits that have like built up a lot of muscle memory yet. Like I feel like anything that needs to improve can do so easily with good coaching, with
Yeah.
good tips. And I may be a bad player, but I feel like a lot of the time I can be a good coach. So
Yeah, no,
I'm
he's got
happy
some
to take
fresh
James.
blood.
And then Gavin. We were just talking about Gavin earlier today. Sougat took Gavin. I know Sougat played. I know they played together already because I played against the two of them at pickup. They're a
They
solid
played
force
well, they
together.
I mean, Sogat and Gavin played in Portland at the Challenger
Oh, oh my
because
goodness.
Bryce had to drop out, unfortunately, he was feeling sick. So Sogat and Gavin just played an entire Spikeball Tour Series tournament together.
And now they're running the season together too.
They're running it.
That's crazy. That's such a
Sneaky
I
pick.
yeah. What's interesting, I know they didn't have the results they wanted in bracket when they played together, but they also upset the top team in their pool in pool play. They're the only loss for one of the best teams in our division, in the contender division. And I remember because it was one of my old ex teammates from Idaho, and he came and just kind of like complained about losing to them for like 5 minutes, and apparently they wrecked him. So I mean, sounds like they got to have some kind of synergy together. I
I would
know.
imagine so. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I know.
clearly they weren't on horrible terms. Otherwise, Sogat wouldn't have picked him because he's just mad at him
Yeah.
for screwing up the tournament or something like that.
Yeah, I
G
mean, there's
is.
a lot. Oh, one more thing.
Oh,
I
go
know
ahead.
there's a lot of reasons to pick Gavin, but I know one reason I'd pick him if I were Sogat. Gavin has a gorgeous Fuego serve, and why would you not first pick someone with an excellent Fuego if you could? You know, that's all.
It's tough to pass up. And I've also heard, I mean, this is what everybody should be really picking, is that he is the Dallin James 2.0. So
Yeah,
that would be
possibly
a
the
pretty big
3.0.
deal.
Yeah, I'm going to pull up some pictures of these guys.
Bring him in.
I just remembered that's a thing we can do. So for anyone who, let's see, we'll go through the list because some of these pictures are just there.
There's some interesting ones out there,
Yeah, we wouldn't want to miss them.
and I think
For
you'll know.
starters,
what I
Yeah,
mean.
for
Not that
starters,
there's
look
a
how
ton of them.
nice this picture of Quang is. This is
Um,
this picture is not sideways, mind you. It's right side up.
well, then
Quang is
I'll let
just
you know
sideways in the picture.
we don't see the picture. It's not
Oh, it
broadcasting
doesn't
that.
show?
But I can
Oh
imagine.
no.
Oh, I can imagine Quang's glorious, maybe not
Uh,
sideways face.
uh, is it does it show
There it is.
now? Oh, good. Yeah, so he is not the picture's not sideways, it's right side up. Quang is sideways.
Classic
Who
Quang.
else? Oh, we have Victor uh on the right here. This is the face he normally has while he plays spike ball, by the way. About the same expression. We have
And is he the one on the left there?
yeah, I can't actually tell you. It could go either way. Here's Chucho. Uh
Looking
also
good, looking
yeah,
steadily.
you can't make out the fantastic hair he normally pulls out for the tourneys he plays in, but it's there. We have Evan repping his cut serve he's working on.
That's just scary because
That
you can tell where that ball is going from the blur there.
Yeah, it's a pretty
You
significant
know that's
angle.
jumping. That's jumping.
All right, here's Gavin. He's ready to go. Some have said he looks like me. I don't see it.
Looks like you, but better is all I'm gonna say. In terms of spike ball
And then we have
2.0.
Griffin. Yeah, so that's for anyone who doesn't know. That's who's been drafted so far. Arthur's coming up next.
Arthur's still on the clock
Arthur
here.
has yeah, Arthur
And Arthur's
has
got into weirder situations here already because he's got half of two players.
yeah,
um,
he it's hard I feel like if I were him, it would be hard to pick my next person because I don't know who I'd be trying to synergize with. Because I feel like Jonathan and Lucas have very different play styles. Like Jonathan Chen, he was on my squad. Sorry,
yeah,
responding
Jonathan
to something
Chen,
from the
very
captain's.
very solid player
His
with
defense was
really
insane.
high. Exactly.
I
Defense stud.
my bold hot take at the end of last season that a lot of people have contested, but I'm gonna stand with it. I know it's a hot take. Hot take. I think he on a good day, I think he is the best defender in the state of Washington in this sport. He still has a lot of fine tuning on other stuff, but like top defensive players like Jordan, I'd obviously take Jordan as the overall player, but if it were just defensive like ability alone, I think Jonathan is unmatched. He is ridiculously good. And you don't have to agree with that take, but
That's kind of a wild take.
he's up he is up there.
For somebody who hasn't
100%.
played in any tour series events, as far
Yeah.
as I'm aware of, or really any even local events other than the league,
Yep.
as far as I'm aware.
I believe he told me his one tournament he played a UW tourney while he went to UW,
Okay.
and not one hosted by UW, but like a intramural tourney, and if I understand correctly, he knocked Malachi out of the bracket. That was
Was
his
this
first
in
event.
2010?
This was I'm sure it was before Malachi's pro year, but Malachi still knew what he was doing. And who knows who Malachi's partner was, but like, you know, it could mean that Jonathan was just insane. And he is. I've seen him play. I think Jonathan is an outstanding player on defense. But him and Lucas feel like such different players to me that picking a combo for them is hard. But David Chung, I feel like, is a really good pick for that. So Arthur took David. David is such a well-rounded player. His floor is so high in every area that I feel like you can combo him with almost anyone as his partner, which works out really well when you don't know if you have Jonathan or Lucas. All right. And with Jordan taking Joel, Jason's up next. Jason's figuring out his pick. Uh,
Snagged him from me. I'll be honest.
you're looking at Joel.
I was 100% looking at Joel and currently texting Kishor about it.
So
So
as
that's a
Jason
bit of a
tries to
bummer.
figure out,
Yeah.
and you have to figure out not just your next pick, but the pick after that as
And then,
well,
yeah,
because you've
back
been
to back.
forced into the
I,
back-to-back spot.
and then I'll have about 25 minutes before even having to think about it again. Um,
Perfect.
all right, let's see here. So I'm thinking with the players that are left, I'm thinking as much experience as possible. A little bit more of a veteran presence and a little bit of service pop is what I'm shooting for. Um, so with my 10th pick, not my 10th pick, my first pick number 10, I think I'll be taking Garret James.
No, that's fine. All right, I'm gonna think of my next rethink my next pick now.
Sorry
Uh,
to do that to you.
that's a okay. So why Garrett? You know he's pretty
Like Garret,
inconsistent.
you know, he's I've heard he is the Dallin James 4.0 actually. So even more so than Gavin. But with that jam serve that he's got, super solid, very strong ace potential with that. And I've seen his lefty serves have gotten a lot better. Like they've
You
been pretty
know,
impressive.
he had been
And you've
telling
you've
me he
complained
had a
about
lefty
getting ace
cut.
slam a couple times too.
Yeah, he had told me he had a lefty cut for the last like month and a half, and like I didn't tell him I didn't believe him, but I didn't believe him. And then he and I got BC Elite together, and I watched him hit the most disgusting lefty cut that like gapped someone by like 4 feet. It blew my mind. And yeah, I haven't seen it since, so like I could have imagined it, and maybe he was lying to me, but like if that's something he can hit more than just once a tournament, that's a ridiculous serve. It's a very strong serve. So, what are you thinking for your next pick? What's happening?
With that, another name from from the previous league that was around a little bit. Has a little bit of experience. Played the spring league. Played in the scramble league as well. I'm thinking Psy.
Oh my goodness. Okay, my next two picks have
Got it.
both been taken.
Freaking destroyed you.
Pav and I had our lineup planned, and I'm going to have to. Uh, okay. Now, well, I try to make a fallback plan. You want to explain why you're picking Psy from me?
I mean, purely, I was just picking up on your wavelengths about, I knew where you were going with a little bit your own nepotism. I couldn't allow that to happen from our earlier conversation. And then with Psy experience, I sold him as net also at one point. And then Kishore and I we'd been talking a little bit back and forth about various options who were left on the board at this point. So what the people who had fallen to us, Joel was stolen, but a happy replacement would be Psy. I think just overall solid game, has been playing a good amount, and just overall consistent. Been in the previous league, so has some experience compared to some of the players who are left on the board. So I thought it was a safe pick, and with good potential for moving up too.
Yeah, I definitely I mean, I guess I can talk about why I'm sad I didn't get Psy. And I'll try to not tear up, but yeah, Psy was definitely on my watch list this time around. Uh he's just as far as like Cal Anderson players that played in the last season, I feel like there was quite a few. I'm thinking Angelo, Pav, David, Joel, some of these, Sam, Dillon, some of these Kyle Anderson guys that were able to get drafted, play in the league, play with some top players, and then like improve very
Yeah.
quickly as a result of grinding. I feel like I didn't see him grinding as much with the rest of them. So I feel like a lot of them kind of left him behind a little bit, but not because like if he were to grind, he would jump right up with them, you know? And so he's someone who I kind of expected him to fall a whole nother round, and I was hoping to grab him in the third round, and then I was ready to see him within a week or two, like pop up to the same level as those other Cal Anderson players like Pav and Angelo and these other players who have been grinding so much for the last 2 months, you know?
Yeah, and I think with
So
just being around there with some of those names that have already fallen a little bit higher up, he'll have the opportunities for sure to be playing with those guys consistently and get those reps. And just got to get him to buy in and get the grind going. And
yeah,
seeing here, next pick is in from Jordan, and we've got Ari, which
interesting.
OG actually,
Yeah.
realistically. I remember playing.
He's played a few tournaments, right? Like
He's
quite
been
a
around
few.
a minute. I played him way back in 2018 and 19, I think. He's been around Seattle U for a minute. I think he took a couple years a little bit off after the kind of the COVID situation, but he's been popping up a little bit lately. And it's awesome, first of all, to see him back in the league. Welcome back. But a little bit of that veteran experience, I think, will be pretty helpful in Jordan's squad. I think that'll be pretty nice at already the second round. Veteran presence there, and if he can tap into some of the potential from years back, solid pick, I would say. And I was considering it
Definitely.
myself.
Yeah, I feel like so my first interaction with him that I can remember was just at the scramble, and I didn't actually get to see a lot of his play. I saw a couple plays and he looked like pretty good, but the main thing I gleaned from watching is I could tell he was kind of ending like middle of the pack, you know, at the end of the
Mhm.
scramble. And the main thing I could tell by watching him was that he was unhappy with what his results were, which told
Yeah,
me that if he was ending middle of the pack and he was unhappy, like I was guessing that he was someone who has the potential to be significantly higher on that list, you know?
I would say so. I would say so.
And he knew it too. And that was my one insight from that.
Yeah, I was man, I see so much of the same thing there. But then also I saw Sai finished a few places higher than Ari. And I just kind of went with that. I was like, you know what? Right now, I'll take Sai at the moment. Finished a little bit higher, I think a full net higher. Um, and that's enough. And I think Sai's got Sai's there. So, but Ari is a
Yeah.
solid pick overall.
Yeah. Let me we've been told to avoid a couple of the pictures that have some sensitive info on them, but besides those, we have David Chung who was
There's David with a
picked by Arthur. His bike, which I understand last season he was picked with the intention of uh Jordan needed someone to be able to transport him to all the matches, and that's the sole reason David was picked. His whole squad wanted him to carry them on his bike. So I think that bike was a big perk of drafting him early.
it was kind of the team mascot, realistically. David and his bike. Um,
Yeah.
really took them pretty far, but they came up unfortunately a little bit short in the end. Not enough of a bike. Maybe he needed a tricycle, I think, and that would have done it.
hmm For anyone who hasn't yet met Joel, here's our friend Joel. Great, great player. Uh, Definitely jumped up a lot higher in the draft this time from last season. I've seen some fantastic in-system hitting from him. I know there's a lot of, I know we're jumping back. I just pulled up his picture and I didn't get to talk about Joel yet. So, uh, Joel's interesting to me because his in-system hitting, I know there's a lot of like up and coming players in the area that can do some nice like push drops and stuff like that. Some just fancy drops around the net. But Joel's the only one I consistently see that can pull it off and like sell me on a different shot every single time. Like I'm always fooled when he goes for a like a push or a drop or some other shot. He is so good at hiding his intended shot selection, and like he still has some serve consistency he needs to master, but like that hitting of like effectiveness alone is a really easy way to kind of put yourself above a lot of the rest of the draft pool.
And
Um
I really love to see just some of these players who were taken in the much later rounds in the previous draft bumping up already to first and second round. I think that's really cool. Um,
yeah.
Specifically, Joel for sure. His defense is hitting is up there now, and it's really cool to see that. And we've got Arthur making the next pick here with Sam.
Yeah, Sam I asked him how to pronounce his name. I think it was Busigian. I could be remembering wrong. He played at
I'll
the
take it.
Scramble. I think that was my first time meeting him. He I know he's another player who his results were a lot lower than he wanted. But I talked to a lot of people who played against him during that Scramble, or I guess with and against him, and it was pretty consistent across all the reports that he was a lot better than his results show. And so Arthur might have talked to the same people I have because that's a pretty high pick. Uh, I'm excited how well I'm excited to see Sam play.
Yeah, it should be interesting. But I do think that 100% of the scores and the positions from the scramble is 100% accurate to the actual skill level in league. Notably, myself finishing outside the top 10, I think 100%, no matter what, it's very accurate. So
I, hey, I mean, I
I think you
finished
got a
out
bad take
top
there.
48, so I understand that completely. So G took Jeffrey Wolberg. Now I believe this is the same Jeffrey I played with. He and I met I want to say over a month ago. We played a pickup game together at Cal Anderson. I want to say against G, but I can't remember completely. And if that's true, G's the one who just picked him. But Jeffrey was solid. Like he kind of threw me for a bit because we started playing and I was expecting to play with like an intermediate player, and he was a lot better than an intermediate player. And I was confused because I had never seen him before, I'd never heard of him before, and so I was very confused where this guy came from, you know.
Mhm.
And I don't think I've seen him since. But here he is getting picked by G. Very solid player. He has a good serve. He plays like a solid, like high advanced player from what I remember. Like good serves, good defense, good setting, good hitting. Like a good mental game, very disciplined player. So
Yeah, and that's what if we're looking at the actual the information that everybody who's in the league when they registered and they put down kind of some of their strengths and weaknesses, that's kind of what Jeffrey was writing down there as well. So I think he's got a lot of those kind of intangibles, the hustle, the agility and ability, but the finishing and kind of the service pressure and consistency is what needs to be worked on. And at that spot, that's kind of a pretty solid pick because a lot of that kind of quick speed and agility is stuff that sometimes if you just have it, you have it, and if you don't, sometimes that's one of the harder things to learn. Learning just serve consistency or things like that. Those are a lot more. You just need to do it a little bit, get some reps in, but the rest of it is a little bit tougher to come by. So I think with kind of shooting for potential, that's a great pick.
now I'm gonna ask you a question while you're talking. I'm gonna start prepping my next two picks because
Yeah.
you stole both of my next two picks. So with that in mind, what is there anyone who hasn't been picked yet that you have like that you know particularly well that you could like give us a preview of like ahead of them getting picked in the draft?
Um,
Is
without
there
saying more than I want to give away about things and
so
people that
you don't
I
want
think
to
are
give the listening captains insider
I'll wait
knowledge?
until after you pick maybe and avoid some of that. Um, but I mean, there's still, let's see, two members. I think there's two people who were on my squad from last season from the spring. Um, Otherwise, I think everybody else. There's a few more people that have been drafted in other teams, but we're not on my squad. So I'm a little bit more familiar with. There's a Jacob Marshall and Brian Kirkland who are my 6 and 7 from last squad. Um, and there's a whole bunch of people out there that have really kind of fallen a little bit further than potentially should. But man, I still don't pick for another like 15 spots basically. So we'll see what
Yeah,
kind of
you got
drafts my way.
time.
I got tons of time. Nothing but time, I think.
Uh,
Let's see. So if we're looking at your picks here, you've got Pav and James. What's something that you are potentially hoping that Sougat doesn't steal from you?
oh well, I talked to Pod for maybe an hour or two earlier today because he's unavailable this evening, so I knew I'd have to get his input early. And one thing we talked about is oh I don't know if I want to share this kind of info with all the captains who might be listening. Uh, let me let me try to limit what I can say. Uh, we definitely are. I know we're looking for some service pressure early because if you were to get some of your guys who have more service pressure and some of your guys who are like better at setting, better at defense, uh, a newer player who's better at setting or defense can be just as helpful as like a more experienced player who's good at setting and defense. But like a good player who's good at serving and has a lot of service pressure is much more impactful than like an intermediate player with service pressure. And that's kind of what we were looking at. We were looking at getting our service pressure in earlier in the draft and then focusing more on more support play styles later on in the draft. And I don't know if that philosophy is actually the case, like all the way around, or if that's just what our draft plan is. But we'll see. You might see me going for a carry. I was hoping for that carry to be Garret, but Garrett's been sniped. So I'm looking. A lot of the people that I had an eye on have been taken. Luckily, I still have a lot more people who I was looking at. There's one person in particular. I'm very interested to see where he gets picked up and if he'll last long enough for me to be able to grab him in the round I want to grab him. But Edward Chang is someone on my mind who he was, I think he was picked in the last round of the draft last season,
Yep.
and I never actually saw him play during the league. And then at our end of season pizza party, I played a friendly game with Amanda against him and I want to say Erick. And not only did he play like someone who knew, like he played well, he played well in a way that struck me as it's how well he was used to playing. Like like he was casually playing well. And I was very shocked to see that from someone who I expected to be a lot newer. And so Edward Chang, I'm interested to see where he gets picked along the draft. And I
And
know
was
there's a lot
Edward
of people like that.
was he on
He was on
Derek's team, I
yeah,
think?
so he was on the winning squad too.
Yeah.
Maybe
So he's
that's
got
it.
the championship pedigree.
Yeah. Maybe maybe Sogat or Josh or I really need to grab him before Garrett keeps filling out his squad from last
All his
season
homies.
onto this season. Hmm. So Sogat's spending a little bit of time on this pick. Who do we think he's looking for? Like, what's Sogat looking for? Sogat currently has Ryan Brennan. He has He has Gavin.
I'm not sure. So Ryan is not a serve baller, certainly. He's a very overall very good player as a co-captain, super consistent, good setting, really good defense, and has just been around a whole heck of a long time. And then Gavin also is kind of an overall player too, plus that little flango that he's got and the Dallin 2.0ism. So I don't know exactly what he's looking for at this point because he's got some pretty well-rounded players as is. I don't know if he needs somebody who's so much of a well-rounded defensive presence or somebody who can just kind of hit the ball hard at this point and maybe generate some service pressure. Would be
You
maybe
do
my
remind
thought.
me of an important point though, which is that Ryan Brennan also has a flango. So I
He does
wonder,
feel. Oh,
is
he's maybe looking
Sougat
for. Yeah.
is Sougat trying to find his third flango server right now?
That might
Is
be
that
the
why
case.
he's taking
Does
his time?
Sogat? I don't think Sogat does.
Sougat does not have a flango, but maybe he really wants to learn, and so he's trying to pick 6 flango coaches.
That's what it is. He's looking for really his captains out there to teach him. He's just trying to learn out here. I respect it. I respect the grind.
Now, realize something. We're just gonna delete an entire round of the draft back here because I realized we had 1 round extra. Um, round 6 will not exist, so we are more than halfway. Yeah, who are only going to pick 50.
Well, there we go.
Oh, I had a quick question for the Cameron in the chat. Cameron was shouting himself out, doing a shameless plug. But we have multiple Camerons, and I don't know which Cameron this is. So Cameron needs to put his last name as part of his nickname in the server, so that I can know which Cameron to pick.
Let's see. So that says the username is Cam C something. So wasn't there a Cam like Cam Custard? Yeah, there you go. That's probably who it is.
Yeah, Cameron
Yeah.
Custer played in the. I talked to Cameron Custer for a bit at the end of the scramble. He, uh, he was another player who performed on the lower end, but I could tell he was definitely had a good bounce back attitude from it. Was ready to grind. Was ready to get picked by a top player and get some tips and pop off this season.
I
So that's
understand.
Cameron Custer. He's definitely on my watch list right now.
I think I understand really why you decided not to participate in the scramble because man, you got a lot of information out there.
Oh, I loved it. I mean, to be fair, like the information I got was off some of the lower nets, and had I played in the scramble, I think I would have gotten the same information by just playing at the lower nets the whole time. Because
Possibly. That actually would have been very interesting too. Because I was just kind of playing like garbage and not really gaining any information and just being frustrated the whole time. So
yeah, that
um, I respect the way you went about it. And we finally have our pick from Sogat here.
Jacob
We got
Marshall.
my guy, Jacob Too Tall Marshall, who has an Instagram of him being too tall in various different locations and taking funny photos of those circumstances. But
I
Jacob Marshall, my guy from my previous league. Oh,
can we
my number 6 powerhouse.
can
Brutal.
someone in the chat plug a link for Jacob's Instagram because I'm really interested in that, whatever
It's
that
good
is.
content. He has not updated it in a little bit,
Oh,
unfortunately.
that's fine. I think if
But
we all
we need to
follow
get that changed.
him, he's going to start updating it. Um, all right, I'm gonna pass the reins to you while I do my next pick.
Fantastic. You are I mean, you had it all the time. What were you doing this whole time? You should be. Yeah, there it is. Jacob is active in the chat and he threw it in there. Jacob doesn't fit on Instagram. Follow that. It's quality content. And frankly, we all
That
want to
is
see
such
a little bit more.
that's such a solid name too.
Oh, and yeah, that is a great point there from Ryan Brennan. That is a tall squad between even just between Ryan and Jacob. Like that's powerhouse.
I don't know.
Height for days.
Gavin may be Dallin 2.0, but Gavin is significantly shorter than I am. So I feel like his squad averages out pretty in the middle in the height spectrum here. I could be wrong, but is Sougat very tall? I feel like Sougat also is on the shorter side too. So I just feel like there's a lot of polarizing results in the height measurement in that squad.
Okay, every other one then. Yeah.
Yeah.
Every other pick
Yeah, he's just
has been
bouncing
flexible.
back. So next pick is short.
Yeah. And I don't know. I got called out at work today for saying anything about height, and it didn't work out so great. The patient was like, "Hey, you can't be saying stuff like that." I was like, "Oh, I was joking." Yeah, Dallin, you are still up, by the way.
Yeah, I
In case-
think I'm going to be taking. This is going to be a gamble for me. I don't know him. I've never seen him play, but I've heard
Nice one, Brandon. That's what I'm talking about.
some. He has one key endorsement, and I'm going off that endorsement, and it's going to be a gamble for me. But if he's willing to grind, he's ready to pop off with me and Pav and James, then I think he'll be a good fit. So I'm excited to meet him, and I'm hoping this endorsement pays off. I'll take Adam.
Adam. There we go. I am unfamiliar with Adam, I'll be honest. Tell me about the endorsement that you've received. From whom?
Let's see. I'm pulling the endorsement up on my phone right now. I don't know if I want to out him or not. We'll see.
That's fine. You can keep it under the table on the DL.
I don't even. Oh, the endorsement was from Erick. So I know I know one piece I can say that's just from his registration. He said his biggest strength is defense. He wants to work on kills. Now, for me, that weakness, I love seeing that weakness because for me, my passion is finishing. Right? My third hits, I feel like if someone has the other ingredients, I can coach. I can coach kills in 10 minutes. I feel like I my ego's maybe a bit bigger than the reality is, but I feel like that's my specialty in my play style and in coaching. And so if someone feels like they're solid on defense, they're solid on serving, and they're ready to work on hitting, I can get them some hitting tips pretty early. And I know Pav and I have talked already. My squad is going to be grinding hitting for sure. Last
I respect
season,
that.
my squad grinded defense so much. Everyone in my squad wanted to practice defense. And anyone who played us in the second half of the season knows that every member of my squad just excelled at defense. But we also went 0-7. So this time around, we're going to be practicing some other things besides defense.
I mean, if you're going for fun, defense, actually grinding that is the most bang for your buck. You know, getting extra touches and getting extra conversions is really the most fun way to play for sure. And then later on at higher levels, those kind of intuitions for defensive positioning is really important. Because if you're just in a wrong spot, you have no chance. Versus if you're at a right spot against really good hitters, you at least have a puncher's chance of swinging a hand out or getting a body up. That getting those fundamentals for defense is really important. But I also would agree that hitting is very easy to coach and to get better really quick. If you really care
Yeah.
and you really want to get better at hitting, you can become a pretty good hitter in a day. Like realistically, especially with some of your kind of coaching background, with all the years that you've done out in Idaho and just even up here, you've got some coaching pedigree to help coach up some hitting, I think too. Just don't try and teach them how to pull because that won't work
I
out.
uh I wouldn't even pretend to teach someone how to pull because I constantly forget that that's a shot that exists in the game. So it won't be an issue. I do not have a pull. But if you play against my squad and every single member of my squad is able to hit you with a backspin drop shot, you know, we can have another conversation about how to really have the most fun in the game.
Genuinely, that would be hilarious, and I would love to have a squad of people doing that.
It would
That would be so absurd.
yeah, it would I think it very quickly would become a less desirable shot to hit when everyone playing against my squad just sticks a defender behind us, every single time.
Yeah,
But
it would really help, and then in which case, having a pole might be very nice.
oh,
But,
yeah.
the fundamentals, the backspin shots, fundamental. Get that one nailed first. Priorities here, come on now.
Yeah. So, Jack Kelly, are you familiar with Jack Kelly?
I'll be honest, I I don't think that I am. Let me see if I can read my notes about here. No, I did not have any familiarity with Jack. I don't believe, unless I mean, I've hosted a bunch of tournaments, and there's been a lot of names that I've come across here and there that sometimes I'll play somebody that came to a Gig Harbor Round Net tournament in like 2019, and then I'll see him again like in a 2023 tournament. I'm like, how in the world? Where's the disconnect here? Where'd you go? But I don't think that Jack is one of those people. I could be wrong. So I don't know nothing about him.
Yeah, I don't think so. He did or didn't play in the scramble.
Let me pull it
He,
up real fast.
I believe he didn't. Here, here's our
I do not see his name in
your
the scramble.
results. Yeah, I don't think he played. But if I'm remembering correctly, he did sign up. He did sign up as a sub last season, though. Correct?
Really? Okay.
Yeah. We're going to ignore some of the trash talking in the chat. Just kidding. I do very much enjoy talking. Uh, I'm a big believer in filling silence. Oh, we have some. Ooh, the next two picks are out. Tyler. Tyler was another person who did play in the scramble, and he had a pretty decent showing. Oh, wow. Wow, they're all going fast
First
now.
line.
Um, I don't know if Trevor is listening here or not, but okay, he corrected himself. It's going fast now. So we have Tyler, we have Ken, and we have Dillon. Ken was actually the player number 69 in our league, the 69th person to sign up. Uh,
I don't get it.
he played he played last season. He joined at the last minute this time. Uh, he was on Andrew's squad, I believe. I never actually got to see him play, but
No, I think you're wrong. I think you're thinking about Kent.
no, 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 no.
No,
Kent
am I
was on
wrong?
Connor's squad. Yeah, that's on you.
Oh shoot. Oh, bad luck.
Yeah,
Are we sure?
I believe
Is there
Ken
at
was.
least two Kens?
No, there's Ken and Kent. Yeah, Ken. So Ken, he's our tall friend from Cal Anderson. He's played a couple tournaments with Angelo
He was
as
on
his
his
partner.
squad last year? Oh, oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
him and Angelo won intermediate a couple SU tourneys ago, if I'm remembering correctly. It could
Yeah,
have
I
been
remember I
someone
remember
else.
Ken from a couple of those training. I don't remember him being in the squad. Oh, Ken. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
yeah, yeah. Here, I
Cool.
guess this is what we have these pictures for.
Well, no, I recognize the picture of Ken. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I just didn't remember he was on the
So
squad.
Yeah, so he signed up last minute. He was on Andrew's squad. Um, he see, I didn't actually get to play against him when I played against Andrew's squad. Uh, I remember he has his playstyle reminded me a lot of some of the other notable Cal Anderson players back at the time. So like, if you've ever like his setting reminds me a lot of David Chung or Angelo's setting. Uh, very long arms, very solid boom, uh, good serves, a very wide step he can take before his serves. I can't remember if he has a left hand as well for a serving option. But definitely someone with a lot of potential. And then, oh, our next picks are coming. All right, Will Smith also got grabbed. So, let's see. Dillon, I actually just talked to Dillon on the phone. Dillon was my another player I was hoping would fall a couple spots. Uh, Dillon is solid. Dillon actually, I believe, will miss week 1. He's in Colorado right now, but he's been playing pickup there. Uh, he's still grinding, even out of the state. Dillon's a very solid player. Very fun guy to play with. I played a game with him, a pickup game, and we beat 2 people who were prepping for attorney, and we had never met. Definitely a solid pick. Okay, Zach takes Amit.
Apologize, my Wi-Fi just kind of went out there for a second. Ken, you are not forgettable. I swear you must have subbed out that week or something. I absolutely remember you, and I remember playing with you, and I played against you when I was playing with Haley at one of the turns, the charity tournament I did. So I remember you. It's just not one specific instance. All right.
I don't think that you have a good excuse.
Fair.
Uh, yeah, Ken, I am excited to play against you because I actually haven't played in a game with you since I feel like long before the league actually started. I could be wrong. I could be forgetting, but I'm excited to see where, in my mind, Ken was in that initial group of Cal Anderson players I met who like first started grinding and like intermixing with a lot of the more experienced, more competitive SU players. And so I'm interested to see where Ken stacks up against some of these other like top Cal Anderson players now. Ken did indeed give up his Thursday volleyball for the league. That was why he signed up so late. So we very much appreciate him being here.
Oh, Ken, you're the man. Wow, good for
Yeah.
you.
Um.
I'll be forever indebted to you
Yeah.
for my mistake,
So
and also being appreciative for joining us, hanging out with the gang.
Yeah, Will Smith was Trevor's second of his back-to-back picks. Will played in the scramble. Will was one of the players I don't think I had met him before the scramble. Maybe I had and I just don't remember, but I don't think we had met. Definitely hadn't played together. Out of the people I didn't know in the scramble, he very much impressed me. Will did very well. It's interesting. Will was on my list from looking at the results of the scramble where it looked like he didn't do great in round 1 and then got placed very low from like the placement round, and then every round after that kind of like his results showed that he was placed too low, you know? He like very quickly climbed back up from starting low. So if you look at his results in the chat, I'm trying to find him right now. He has a very high point diff after how low he started. You know, like he started low and then won 10 of the 15 games with a 32 point differential, which is the highest one. That might be the highest point diff in the entire scramble, besides Trevor, our winner. So definitely a a strong performance. Yeah, he definitely I don't unintentionally or intentionally sandbagged from round one, and then had a massive point diff climbing back up after that.
Gotcha. Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah. I mean, that's one of the issues that I think that I have with the scramble. Um, Once you're kind of down pretty far, or even kind of middle of the way, it is really hard to kind of scramble your way back up. You really have to
Yeah,
win
yeah,
basically everything.
yeah, and I feel like that's something that is on me for not emphasizing as much, and I didn't really realize the impact, like how big a deal it really was. But that first round is everything.
It
Like
really is.
all the people who ended up on that top final net are people who had strong 3-0 performances round one in order to guarantee them a quick trip to that top net. And then instead of having to be the top performer on their net each round to climb up, all they had to do was not be in the bottom, and they just had to try to hold on to where they already got to, you know?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And that's where that's what happened to me where, I was like, 2-1 first round. That's good enough, right? And
Yeah,
it
that's
got me
fine.
on like 4. And from there on, basically to get back up, I had to win every other round. And, with the way that I am, that ain't happening. Um, so and there was still several other solid, really good players out there. Like I was playing with Arthur and Bryce and Ryan Brennan for a long time at kind of the nets 3 and 4 area. And, with kind of where in kind of the position or the player rankings, that's a pretty solid, net 3 and 4 and really tough to crawl back out of it. But regardless, very fun and unique sort of style of a tournament to go about. And it does give you a lot of unique matchups that maybe you wouldn't have played otherwise. And just to kind of see how those things play out is really fun for sure. So I
Yeah.
definitely like to see a couple more of those in the future at some point down the road.
Hmm. All right. It's reached me in the pick order. I'm looking through this. I feel like we're at a point where I'm deciding whether to go off strong scramble results versus maybe going more off some endorsements, some recommendations I've heard from people I've been asking. I've been spending many hours a day on the phone with lots of people trying to get a take on some of these guys. So, Jason, what are what do you think some of the captains are going to be looking for in their picks this round? What's different about round 3 versus round 1, 2, 4, and 5?
I think getting down into these last couple rounds, the familiarity with a lot of the players is dwindling significantly. So a lot of the picks are going to be from brief interactions like, oh, hey, I met you at the scramble. I wasn't even playing with you, or I wasn't at the same net, but I saw you over there. And I can kind of look at some of your results from the scramble, or looking at some of the matchup or some of the inputs that people wrote in their registrations. So when people are saying, oh, I know so and so, or when they're listing their strengths and weaknesses without really knowing the person at all. It's coming down to some judgments in that way where it's coming to just making some educated guesses, and kind of using some of the sort of friendships and communication and groups that people are with that you can kind of make some assumptions with. So, oh, I know this person's a Cal Anderson person, and they play with these groups, and kind of just going with it from that. And that's at least where I'm at. Where there's a few names that I do still recognize, but for the most part, it's getting down to looking at some pictures.
Yeah, which uh Dustin and anyone else asking. I had a couple people ask in the last hour. A lot of it is not too late to sign up for a sub. We actually haven't opened up a registration page. I think this time we are just gonna do it through Discord. But we are definitely gonna be in need of subs, especially week one. A lot of people have talked to me week one about not being able to make this first week. So Dustin, start driving down tomorrow. Come play. Come play for one of these teams. I picked Edward Chang as my last pick, by the way. Uh, I mentioned him earlier. He I had that one game, and that one game left a big impression on me. I'm ready to ride that uh that play style. I'm ready to see how good he can be this season.
Yeah.
Do you have any comments on some of the? Oh, I'm gonna answer Jensen's question really quick, and then do you have any comments on Amit, Brian, or Michelle? Jensen, quick question for subbing for anyone listening. So our plan we're going to be is going to be a cost of $5 to sub. We're not trying to profit off subbing. Those $5 will go to whoever you're replacing. So anyone who's missing a week or two, they'll be partially recompensated for the weeks they miss. Not fully. They are still like committing to playing this season, and we don't want people to feel completely comfortable just missing whenever they feel like. But so any subs will pay $5 to the person they're replacing, and that'll that'll both help people feel better who miss a week or two, as well as hopefully incentivize people who want to play but are avoiding costs by playing as subs to hopefully play in future leagues, because we'd love to have more people, more squads. Uh, any comment on Amit, Brian, and Michelle?
Well, big comment for Brian. I think
Oh yeah,
Derek,
you had him on your squad,
Nolan,
right?
those two, Jacob Marshall and Brian Kirkland, were gut wrenchers for me to see taken off the board. With the amount of time between the picks that I have, I was sweating them, hoping they drop. But good for them being picked a little bit earlier. But man, those are my guys. My last squad, 6 and 7, absolute powerhouses at those positions. I don't think
Yeah,
that when they were matched up as a 6-7, they lost any other 6-7 matchup. They were killing it out there. So with Brian, sneaky good, sneaky solid. I think that's
yeah.
a good pick.
I remember Brian playing particularly well in your guys' match against us back at Loyal Heights. Uh, I don't think I saw him play when we played our constellation match in the bracket. Sam, your question about Michelle and Jack. My answer is I think so. I'm pretty sure that's definitely the Michelle, and I'm not sure about the Jack. So if the yes, quite possibly. I'll I'll show. I think Michelle's one of the driver license pictures that I can't show on the screen. I think I can pull Jack Kelly's picture. Uh, here's here's Jack. So anyone who's met him, I think I've met. I seem to remember meeting him, but I feel like it's been a while since I've met him. Sam, based off that picture, is that the Sam and Michelle you're thinking of? Right. Turner, that was just picked. Interesting. Jason, we're approaching your pick. So we have Donald Turner. Donald Turner is one of a handful of players on in the league that I have never seen play, but he was he was one of the people that I had gotten an endorsement for that I was definitely keep. I almost picked him with my last pick. I'm interested to see how well he does this season.
Yeah, he was coming down to one of the picks that I was gonna make that G kind of snagged. I'll be honest. So now I'm just doing a little bit more of a scramble drill here. After that, just stealing my pick. So
Hmm. Interesting. I feel like I don't know about you, but I feel like where last season a lot of the captains just didn't know who was left after a while. Like after a couple rounds, like the captains just didn't know any of the names. This time I feel like we know a little bit about a lot of people. Not enough to help distinguish between like which one we'd want, but enough where they're not all just like names with no information. But like
yep.
I don't know if that makes it easier to pick in these last two rounds or harder. And I'm leaning towards harder because I feel like there's like the knowledge I do have like reasons enough to go for any of these last like 20 something names still on the list. Like some of these people, I know I feel like I played one game, but no more than one game with another 15 of the people that haven't been picked up yet.
Okay, so we got some insight from Sam there on that same Jack and Michelle
Yeah,
that
I believe I remember the tournament he's talking about. I remember that.
30. Wow. That's pretty interesting because that's a pretty solid matchup. They're gonna surprise some people, he says. Which would be very interesting. And Sam, aren't you supposed to be camping right now?
I believe Sam's definitely supposed to be camping.
I respect
Um,
it though. I respect tuning in for a league that you're not even a part of while you're camping.
yeah, I feel like Sam as well as Dylan Jackson, two I don't know if this is actually the case, but in my mind, I got the impression they were two of the founding members of the Cal Anderson spikeball community, both of which uh, made a big impact on the in their positions in the league last season, played very well, and both having to pass this time around for scheduling reasons. We're excited to get both of them in as subs. But you got to have Sam on your squad. Any
Sam.
any
Oh,
shout out to Sam?
man, it breaks my heart for all of my previous squad members to not be with me anymore. It's kind of sad, you know. I'll be honest. I had Kishor as sub for a couple of weeks, so that was definitely helpful for me choosing him for my co-captain. But seeing Sam, I mean, just not able to play, unfortunately, consistently is a bummer. But anybody who gets him as a sub is definitely getting a solid player, solid guy, great commentator too. Lot of pluses there for that guy. And then
Yeah,
seeing
for
the other
sure.
people on the squad not around either. Let's see, is anybody other than Evan? Evan's out there. We lost Tori. Tori is not a part of our league this year, this season. So that's a bummer. Um, Erick, again, more scheduling conflicts. Happy to see the other guys on other squads, but I want him back. If I could have the same squad, I'd feel pretty good about myself. Even anybody. I take anybody at this point.
With that in mind, I believe my brother is trying to get you to look at your text from him. Uh,
Um,
I don't
should I
think you have to have anything to worry about though.
I have
Feel free
not gotten
to.
text from him. So,
Oh, then then I think we're fine. He might be messaging on Discord, but that's okay. If he's
man,
providing any kind of insight for the draft, I'm sure it's not a big deal. Um, let's let me grab the picture for Donald really quick.
Oh, I see what's
Don
going on. Okay, I've gotten my message from Garret. Got it.
oh,
Interesting.
anything you wanna share with the
Oh,
group?
no, not at the moment. Other than him speaking through a friend's account, so that's why it was a message request. So, like, why the heck? Garret, what are you doing, man?
Yeah. All right. Here's our Donald Turner. He definitely has an athletic look to him in my mind. I could be wrong, but I feel like just off that, and I'm trying to remember what he put in his registration. I feel like he struck me as a pretty solid, like mid draft pickup.
And sorry, who was that one more time?
Donald Turner.
Oh, don't
He
turn. Yeah.
I seem to remember him saying he's a hard hitting player. He's a tall player, I believe. I think it's a not don't know for sure. I have not met him yet, but very interesting pick. I'm looking at a lot of the squads right now, and some of these squads seem downright scary. You have a ooh, and Arthur just took Cam Custer. And I believe Cam Custer probably was the one who was mentioning in chat about picking himself, who's
I
giving
believe so.
himself the shout out. All right, Jason, we're approaching your pick. While you're doing that, I'm looking at some of these squads and oh my. I feel like these squads just look so balanced. Like once you get past the captain co-captain columns where it kind of goes all over the place. We have some advanced players all the way to some premier players. Beyond that point, I feel like there is so much balance between like round 1 to 5. Like we mentioned the same thing already last time or earlier at the beginning of the call that like last time with each round it was like we dropped half a division. And this time I feel like from here on out everyone's equal. I know some of the names still on the list who haven't been picked yet are where was he? Where am I getting pinged from? Oh, some people are requesting Joel, which I'm in favor of pulling up Joel's picture again.
I'll bring it up. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. But
Jordan, you scum. Oh, sorry.
oh
Dang.
no! I guess it was too much to hope that Raymond would drop another like 5 picks.
Oh,
But
man. That's pretty tough.
alrighty, Raymond. I could be wrong, but I feel like Raymond might be a roommate of Joel. I might be wrong. But he definitely seems like he's friends with Joel and some of these other guys. Uh, but Raymond and I played a game together right after the scramble. It was him and I against Joel, and I don't remember who the fourth player at the net was, but Raymond carried me. I barely touched the ball. It was just him acing people. His serve still seemed like a little bit scrappy, but he has such a quick draw on his serves. Like he goes from the toss into the hit so fast and so like aggressively, and there's so much power on the serve that it definitely seems like the kind of serve that would be very hard for an intermediate player to touch on serve receive. You know what I mean?
Sorry, I'm still mad at
Oh,
still mad at
that's fair. That's fair. I guess you're about to do your pick.
human.
But yeah, Raymond Chen, another player who is very much on my watch list after our game together. He just struck me as scrappy, like still a lot of things that felt like he seemed like someone who hadn't really played against like top level players yet or seen that kind of play style and yet like was managing fine on his own, like without knowledge of like meta play styles, Like
Mhm.
still had a solid like a lot of ace pressure just from how fast and strong of a draw he has on his serve. Very hard hitter. Definitely someone who with just a slight like the moment he starts playing with some more competitive, like higher level players, he seems like someone who will uh pop off really fast.
Yeah, I can see that. And I'll be honest, that was the piece of information that I got from Garret, who was saying, "Hey, snag Raymond."
Yeah, I
And
don't love that
uh,
because I feel like that piece of information from Garrett came from me. So I don't
that's just nepotism at work once again.
yeah, I'm
Um,
not sure it needed to travel all the way to you.
well, it didn't. It didn't work. So because we have a mean man named Jordan.
Yeah.
Um, so from there, the next pick that I'm thinking of taking is as close as I can really get to somebody who was on my squad last time. Um, but only in relation of kind of in the registration picking that person's name and saying their name was really helpful for me. And looking at the strengths and weaknesses that they put down, I'm feeling pretty good about it. Feeling confident about getting the ball in the net and hitting it hard. Big fan of that. I think that's great. And then the only things he was mentioning to work on were some of kind of the more finessey sort of stuff. And that would be Nick Alfonso, who had mentioned Evan Cox by name, which
Which
is as
that's
close
a
as I can get to my previous squad, is bringing that back. So I think there's some potential there. And Evan, my man from previous squad, you gotta train up your man, get him going. We're get this thing going. And so that's my first pick there. And let me check a couple things before I double uh, double dip here.
double tip.
Communicating with Garret real quick here.
Yeah, I feel like
I
Garrett's
think
too
there's
big of a distraction.
he might be. He might be. But I
Yeah, you
think I'm
you
gonna
signed yourself up for a lot by drafting him.
oh man, the more you're talking, the more you're swaying me from what he's telling me here. Which I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing.
So while you do that, some of the names I know from last season that are playing this season, uh, some people who were drafted very low and made massive improvement while they were playing in the season, and I'm very excited to see them like perform just drastically better this time around with the skill they gained since the beginning of last season. Some of the people on my mind are Kent. Kent had massive growth playing with Connor. David Biatima as well. Kent and David both playing with Connor. I know Connor's someone who I feel like he was the least competitive of all the captains last season, and yet I mean, obviously, skill wise, was one of the best, if not the best. But on top of that, he's he has the skill and the coaching ability, and just like the leadership skills. I feel like it just it seemed like it really paid off for David and Kent, having seen them play since that point. Uh, they're very very solid picks that are still ready to be put into play. Another pick being Chau. Chau grew a lot in the season. She was on my squad. She great defender, great hustle. Her serves are very solid. Very excited to see what squad Chau ends up on as well. Timothy Hahn is another one who I saw. Wait. Oh, all the captains are currently pinging Jason to go a little faster with his second pick. He's struggling. So this is where all the chat can mention uh count down a timer for him to make his pick go faster.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, I will take Timothy, my man 10. Put him on.
Timothy?
Oh yeah.
Han?
Yep.
Awesome. Timothy Han. You so I'm trying to remember. Timothy Han was on which he wasn't on your squad. Whose squad was he on?
He was on. Oh shoot.
Oh, he may have been on Andrews, I believe. He was Andrews'
I think that's right.
final pick. Yeah, and Timothy, I felt like he did well by the end, but I didn't actually ever get to play him. My first experience actually watching him play was during the scramble. And when I watched him play, he seemed like he was doing a lot better than from like where he started off. Let me look for the results for Timothy. Yeah, he ended out of the 12 nets we had, he ended winning his respective net, uh, beating out players like Kent, Chau, and Sam.
And that was
He,
Sam M
yeah,
from earlier.
Sam Musigian.
Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
I
so
think so.
Timothy, yeah, yep, it is. So Timothy he, despite kind of losing some key games early on in the scramble and getting put on a lower net, he definitely ended strong in the scramble. And when I watched him play, he seemed like someone who, like, with a couple like coaching tips from a solid captain, can get really good really quickly. All right, I'm very interested to see who Jordan takes here. I'm I'm very curious as to which of these captains are receiving insider knowledge from their draftees, right? Like I know Garrett's been messaging you. I wonder how many of the other captains are getting input right now from the people they've already drafted. I know my squad has told me nothing thus far. So I'm just drafting blind here. Luckily I've picked people who I already have my eye on, so I haven't needed the input yet. But if you're on my squad already and you're hearing me, start sending me some input. Not on my squad, you're also welcome to send me input. But I feel like Jordan is someone I'm always interested in who Jordan picks. Jordan being probably the best player in the league again for 2 straight seasons. He's someone who his picks have a lot of impact because no matter who he picks, he always has a very real chance to make a run to the finals of the league in the playoffs. And so if he gets some solid picks, then that's very dangerous for everyone else. Ooh, Jordan's taking Ryan.
It was coming down to Ryan or Tim, and maybe a couple other people between the last pick that I made. But I think that's not a bad pick at this point to go with Ryan. Um, I don't know him super well, but we did have in in the chat from Jordan in the chat captain chat. He said that hard serves equals easy dubs. So there's a little bit of that with Ryan, and his game is hitting it a little bit harder. And at this point in the draft, that might be all that you really need to be a pretty solid pick.
God, that's true. I feel
And with
like I feel like that just seems like it's the coaching advice I'd expect from Jordan Freitas is hit hard, you know? I can't imagine him giving much more coaching advice than just hit hard.
no, I don't think he has much other knowledge, honestly. Like there's not much else to his game other than that.
Yeah, my I have a very strong memory of playing Jordan's squad in the normal season and watching every member of my squad, myself included, go up against Jordan on his net and just get aced serve after serve by serves that just he just hit so hard. They're, There's nothing else to it, and he just hits hard enough that he aces every time. So if he can build a whole squad of just people who hit harder than the other team can handle, then that's a winning formula. It's not one my squad can follow because anyone who knows my play, I can't hit hard. That's why I go for trick shots. I don't have a boom. I don't have a pull. So we focus on finesse because I'm not sure I am capable of other options here. Jason, what about you? What's your squad's game plan looking like between Kishor all the way down to Tim so far?
I think there's a little bit of so I've got the service pressure up top is what I'm thinking between myself, Kishore, and Garret with Garrett's jam. Kishore serving, I don't know how much you guys have played against him or been around him. When his serves are on, he is arguably a top 3 server.
In the
Like
league?
behind
Yeah.
behind
Yeah,
Jordan,
yeah.
myself, maybe Trevor. When he's on, his serves are ridiculous.
I don't
Um,
know. If Kishor's on, I'd rather receive you than him. That
oh, 100%. I would too.
yeah. I think it's I'd put him behind Jordan and Nolan. Maybe Arthur as well. Arthur serves when they're on are look just as gross. But yeah,
Kishore's
they're
got the remote. That worst when he's
luckily I
landing
have
on
a
the
very solid game plan for when I play your squad, which is uh hope that Kishor's not on serving wise. You know,
a
it's a very
reasonable
strong plan.
reasonable plan, I think. I mean, obviously a lot of thought put into it, and I respect it. But also, the rest of his game is good too, for sure. He's not just a serve player. He's played
For sure.
a solid amount with solid players too. So with that
Yeah,
as a coach,
and he's still surprisingly new in his spike ball career with like he's improved at a very fast rate and like the last couple times I played him like it hasn't slowed down at all, you know? Like since I haven't played him in at least a month I feel like chances are he comes to his first match and he's already better than the majority of the captains.
I mean, I wouldn't mind that.
I I'm sure you wouldn't.
Not a tough sell for me. And then beyond that, I think there is some upside with Cy and Nick that I think there's a lot of potential there. If they really crack down, which, I'll try and coach them up a little bit and just give them the opportunities to make some of those plays. Nick being friends with Evan, I think that's a lot of an opportunity because Evan I know is on the grind. So being
Yeah.
close to that is going to be really helpful too.
Being close to the grind is a big deal, which is why I think that's a strong point in favor of drafting Ryan, uh, Jordan's last pick, because I know Ryan is in very close proximity to a lot of Cal players who are grinding right now.
Yeah, that's true. And then for Tim, I think Tim has gotten a lot better and more consistent with his game compared to starting out the league last year. Being with Connor is super good at coaching up people, and relying on Connor's coaching to keep on going here. And then for my final pick, it's just going to be whoever lands my way. It'll be interesting being the last pick this time, where I don't even have an option, and just whoever falls my way, um, just got to get them to buy in and coach them up as best we can, and go from there. It'll be fun.
I'm not totally sure what's happening in the captain's chat, but if I'm correct, I believe Arthur picked someone and then deleted his message and is trying to take it back. And several of the other captains spotted it. I
Yeah, I
didn't
saw
see
that.
it, and I'm the one updating the spreadsheet. So as
I didn't
far as
see
I
that.
know, he has not made a pick yet, but
If I were to look,
there's some controversy.
if I were to look through the spreadsheet, I think I could probably. Oh no, I do remember who it was, but I won't say anything about it because that would be bad.
I mean, it definitely won't impact your next pick. I'm pretty sure.
Who knows? We'll see, but definitely not.
What?
But it is kind of funny. Um, and forever that person will have a vendetta against Arthur Squadman. Arthur, you screwed up, man. Because I'll tell them. I'll tell them, and they'll forever hold a grudge.
Yeah, we can blame all his losses on that from this point out. Um, yeah,
Yeah,
I think Brandon's point is correct. Arthur needs to go back and pick that person. But
even then, though, that
even
still
then,
saying, "Hey,
that
I thought
person's
of
gonna
that
go.
without moving you off." So
That person's gonna know that they were a mistake, and then a mistake that got stuck with. Yeah, yep. It's it's an unfortunate place to be at.
yeah, I
But
think
I
the only
mean,
option is to kick that person out of the league
I'm
and find somebody else for him to play with because
even if
it's
it
over.
were me, I wouldn't mind being rejected and then retaken by Arthur if I'm getting to play on a squad with people like Jonathan, Lucas, Arthur, David. Man, that's a solid team to be on right now.
I'd say the
So
same thing, except that knowing that my captain hates me is
yeah, and that he didn't
the only thing
delete
holding
the
me back.
pics of David or Sam or Cam, just mine. That would be hard to handle. Um, and I'm really excited to see. We've mentioned it a couple times, but the whole fact that we have a much closer skill level between like our rounds 2 through 5. Like I'm very interested to see how that affects the games themselves, like the matches themselves. You know,
It'll
because
be very interesting.
for anyone listening who didn't play last season and doesn't know the format, we have a rank restriction in our match. When one team or when one squad sets out their lineup on their 3 nets and the other squad matches, they can't the matching squad can't just send anyone out. They have to send a pair out that is within a couple points of rank between them and their opponent squad. So like if Jason was to send himself out and Tim, Jason's the number 1, the rank 1 on their squad and Tim is the rank 6. Combined, they have a pair ranking of 7. The opposing squad can only send a pair that ranks within like a difference of 3 of Jason's pair score. So they'd have to send out a pair somewhere between 4 and 10. So they couldn't send out their 1 and 2 together to crush them. They also couldn't send out their 6 and 7 together to just kind of throw the net. Wait, so is this Arthur's pick?
So we do have a second official pick, I think, from Arthur, and it's hard to. I won't say anything else.
The
Like,
same,
I'm not trying to
is
stir.
that the same person? Did he go back and pick the same
I
person?
won't comment on it. I'll leave
But
it. I'll leave it at.
now they'll just never know.
There's no. I'm sorry, Arthur. You're in a lose-lose position
Yeah,
after
there's no
everybody
way to
told
go
you.
back on this. I hope you're ready to gaslight this member of your squad for the rest of this season. Uh, Andy
Oh, I'm the real side.
Cahill. Andy, you're ready to go. You're on a wait. So he is picking. Yeah. So he's picking Andy, I
Yes, that
believe.
that was confirmed.
That was a very confusing
Squad.
series of events. But Andy it is. So Andy is one of the other people I haven't seen play unless I'm mistaken. Let me find Andy's picture.
Yeah, I don't know Andy.
He looks a little familiar to me. Maybe I played with him. I'm not sure. I believe. if I'm correct, some of the Cal Anderson guys told me they're familiar with Andy. So I think I'm at this point. I think I'm trying to juggle way too many names and faces and conversations in my head at the same time.
Yeah, fair enough. And the multiple. Okay, and so here we go. We've got a super underrated pick call from Jacob. So Jacob is likely familiar with Andy a little bit, so possibly with that. Interesting call there from Jacob. Unsure. I am personally not familiar with Andy, so we'll see how that ends up. But so far, people in the chat are saying pretty underrated pick. Gavin saying that, Jacob
Yeah.
saying that, Chucho saying that.
Yeah. Now, while they might say it's underrated, I think it's hard to say underrated with the state of this draft right now because unlike the last draft, I don't really see the skill levels actually going down from round to round. So like I think Andy being taken at the spot in round 4 isn't actually a comment saying he's like less skilled than, let's say, Will Smith at the top of round 3, right? I I think I think everyone here, everyone I've seen play is close enough that like anyone picked in round 4 or 5 could have like a breakout season and play better than people far above them in the draft. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's really
Like,
hard with some of the names that people are less familiar with. Where some people might be familiar with someone like Andy, whereas some other people might just have no idea. So some of those kind of picks are just super hard to tell. And
mhm,
depends on life circumstances, depends on how close they are to something like Cal Anderson, depends on a whole bunch of different things that could come up, whether they actually have the potential to be very, very good players, or if there's just other stuff going on that priorities kind of take place. So it can be really hard to judge. But hey, hopefully, I love to see a solid underrated pick and would love to see people picked in the 4th and 5th round really jump up and kind of claim that underrated pick status and really be super solid players. That'd be awesome. That's always great to see some of these newer players jumping up a little bit.
yeah.
That's what keeps the sport going is
No,
people.
I agree. In fact, before we talk about Nina, who just got picked by G, Nina played very solidly at the scramble, by the way. But before we talk about Nina, uh, to go on that whole like underrated pick thing, for anyone who was paying attention to the league last season, the 3 squads that podiumed, I've said it before to anyone who will listen when I talk, which, getting harder and harder to find people who are willing to put up with that. But I've said
I
it
don't really
before and I'll
hear it.
say it again. The 3 squads that podiumed were the 3 squads that were able to sneak in picks that were like very underrated players at the time. They're able to get high value picks where it was people who performed far better than the rest of the people that were picked in that round, you know? So you look at the winning squad and you look at Angelo, right? Right off the bat. Or Anita as well. You look
Here.
at huh?
Switch tabs over and look at the previous draft.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We have that right here. So right here, you look at here's all our squads. Winning squad, Derek, you have Angelo, you have Anita, you have Edward, right? Like Haley was great, Eric was great, Amanda was great, Derek played great, but the big ticket on their squad 100% is Angelo just dominating like at at this spot, right? Angelo, he wasn't the best player in the league, but he definitely made a bigger impact than a lot of the people picked near him in the draft. Anita as well, Edward as well, right? And so that's a big deal. You look at Josh, who took a very strong second place. You have players like Garret, who is one of the top twos in the league, right? You have Sougat, who played insane. You have Jensen, who was played. He just dominated compared to other people picked in that round. You had like Kevin was good, Vishal was good, but like Garret dominated compared to other people in this round, right? You look at Jordan's squad, Jordan had the same thing with people like David and Pav just being dominant picks compared to other people picked at that spot. Pav especially, you know, Ryan as well. Also, Jordan, his captain slot was better than all the equivalent captains for sure. Like some people had to get stuck with me, but these guys got Jordan as their captain position. Man. All right. Sougat going for one of my favorite people still up. Taking Chau. And I'm getting to throw up my pick really quick. I think I have mine ready. I believe I'm on the fence on this, but there's a player that I played a friendly game with one day in Cal Anderson, and I had a blast playing with this guy. I don't remember him being like exceptionally experienced. He seemed on the newer side, but like such a fun person to play with, and seemed like someone who could, like, if he chose to grind, he could get very good, and someone who I think I'm going to I think I'm gonna go for.
You talked to this much. You gotta pick the player.
Yeah, it's gonna be really awkward when I swap and pick someone else.
I really like this person. I think they're great, but nah, you're committed. Don't pull a
Don't
Trump ghost.
pull a, don't pull a. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Jason.
I'm a captain. Sorry.
Uh, Jason shots. I pick
I'm also Jason S.
that. You know, I'll take whichever you wants to show up to my matches. Uh,
I would love to not show up to your matches. I'll be honest.
Jason shots. It is. Yeah, very excited to take Jason shots. Uh,
Was he at the scramble or where did you play
he
with
did
him?
not play at the scramble. We played. I remember what the day was like, but I don't remember the situation. If I remember correctly, it wasn't like Cal Anderson pickup. It wasn't a Tuesday pickup. It was just some other random day. Garret and I believe, were just driving by Seattle or something. That like something was going on, and we decided to stop at Cal because we heard there was like a net or two there. And Jason I met Jason there, and we played a pickup game against whoever was there at the time. I'm just going to wildly guess Sougat was one of the guys because he's normally there when it's off days at Cal Anderson. But we had a solid game together. It was fun. Um, yeah, I a big fan of Jason. I I don't remember a lot about his playstyle, but I remember I liked him. I remember I liked him as a player, and for me, that's enough.
Yeah, at this point, that's as good as you're gonna get.
I mean, not a like I feel like I like a lot of the people who are left, if not everyone who I've met who's still left. Uh, but
Who do you
like,
who's been drafted that you don't like? Name them.
oh, so man, I'm
Other
so
than maybe
glad
Garrett.
I didn't get stuck with Victor. Oh man.
Oh my
Um
gosh. Yeah.
no, I love Victor. Victor and I were gonna play a tournament together, and then he ditched me and
Oh,
went on vacation to Hawaii instead.
oh,
And
Victor's typing as we speak.
now, if anyone wants to listen to me say it, I'll gladly tell everyone that Victor's beginner at best. So
Ouch.
100%. But for sure, it's okay because he dumped me, and right next to him was Chucho, and Chucho was like, "Down, play with me instead," and we just like fist bumped, and that was all it took for Chucho and I to sign up instead.
Oh, wait, that was for the,
That was
Portland thing?
for Portland, yeah. That was
Oh,
for
man.
Victor's hometown, and then Victor
Oh,
realized he
shit.
didn't want to be seen in his hometown with me.
Yeah, definitely not with you. That's for sure. So
Okay.
honestly, I'm on Victor's side at this point. So you didn't sell it too well.
All right, so Josh grabbed Juan, someone who did play in the scramble. Juan played really good. I feel like his results weren't they're still closer to the bottom half of the scramble, and yet I remember when I watched Juan, I was very impressed by his athleticism. I was impressed by some of his swings. He was definitely one of the newer players who I didn't meet until the scramble, who like caught my eye. I was very impressed by him. Uh, he was definitely on my list of people I was considering taking, not just this round, but the previous round as well. And I just barely held off on him twice now. But
Yeah, and just even looking at that, even though it is on the bottom half of the Spiker Scramble, if you're looking at who he's around and who he's above, if you're just purely looking on the Spiker Scramble results, which obviously is 100% accurate all the time,
yeah,
um, he's 1 and 2 spots below and 3 spots below Cy, Jacob, and Tyler, and then above some of the other picks like Raymond and Will Smith and Timothy. And so that realistically, based on just that alone, and being in kind of the same realm of those players, being picked a full round or even two behind some of those, that's pretty good value if you're purely just looking on that.
yeah,
I'm not super familiar with this game otherwise, so all of my information is just going off of those. But looking at that, that looks like a steal to me.
yeah. No, very solid player. Very much someone I wouldn't have minded being on my squad. Although, once again,
But you
as
did have the
like,
opportunity one pick prior. I will say that.
yeah. And I almost took it. I almost grabbed him. Uh, I'm comfortable with my Jason pick, but again, like having been able to be on the sidelines during the scramble and watch a lot of these bottom nets, like the thing that stuck out to me constantly from so many players was like passion, coachability, just so many players who look like you give them a coach and they'll jump up 2 divisions, right? Like, and Juan's like at the head of that group, right? There's so many players that new to the tournament scene, but like not for long, you know? So like maybe some of the captains right now are scrambling trying to figure out people they know or don't know, but like, you know, I'm comfortable with whoever comes my way. Like most of these guys still left. I'm so down for them to fill in my last spot on my squad. Like it's some very solid players still out here.
Yeah, I'd
Um,
say so too. And still some vets from the previous league too, which is interesting to see um, where they're at compared to the previous time. And I think there's a couple out there that frankly have fallen maybe unfairly so. But I think with some of the things that you're saying, some of the coachability aspects, maybe some people are going more for the kind of potential. So maybe some of the newer faces who maybe are near the same level as some of the other players who have played a longer time, and just going with that where um, you're just kind of banking on maybe more of a not a linear progression, but more of an exponential growth. Whereas some of the longer term players have had kind of slower and longer growth. Like even myself, I've been playing for way too long, and there's never been a moment that I've gotten way better. Where there's been like a month or two stretch where I'm just like way better than I was before. It's been just kind of a long, slow grind. So maybe they're just shooting for the potential on a lot of these people that are left rather than some of the tried and true players,
yeah. No,
which I
I
think
agree
in a
100%.
shorter league like this is maybe not a bad strategy. We're saying if they just take, 1 2 even 3 weeks of the league and really kind of grind at it, if they can be some of those kind of boom players where that's all it takes to get them to that next level, to maybe go from a round 4, round 5 pick to kind of a round 3-ish, round 2 even, and just get them involved in that way. You know,
Yeah,
not a bad strategy to go about your draft that way, I don't think.
I agree for sure. Um, I feel like there's a couple players still on this list of availability who I know they're newer, but I know they've been grinding. Ooh, and we just had one pick. The second of our Camerons,
Are we out of cameras
Wong.
now?
I believe we are out of Camerons,
Oh,
but
man.
if Andy Cahill was wanting to leave after uh, Arthur's behavior, we could probably find a third Cameron.
We could probably figure it out. I don't know that I know any other Camerons, but I know a Cameron with a K, but that doesn't really count.
Yeah, I'm
So
not sure that counts.
no, I wouldn't
You know, I'm
state either, so that doesn't help either.
I'm very interested. There's a couple of the people left who are on my list of people I've never seen or played with. Ooh, Stephanie Falk just got picked. Could be wrong, but I feel like this is the exact same spot in the draft she got picked last time.
It's pretty close. Yeah, switch back there.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's remarkable.
I'm also just impressed with myself for remembering that spot.
That's pretty good too.
That's
Are there
solid.
any other same spot picks? I don't think so, right?
I I don't think so. Um, I mean, there's Erick getting picked by Derek again. Yeah, and
Some of
even that
that,
was in a
the
different spot. That's a
Quang,
different spot
you
anyway.
switched
Yeah,
up.
I don't think so. Well,
Well, I
and I
like
mean, there really shouldn't be because so many people have improved. I mean, even some of the guys from last league, like David and Kent and uh, some of these other players that haven't been picked up yet, like whoever's about to get them, like these are people who were picked very late in the draft last season who are different beasts this time around, you know? Like whoever's getting Kent is not getting the same Kent they got at the beginning of last season. Same with
yeah,
100% same with David Biatima, you know? Anyone
yeah,
who's seen David Biatima's like grinding sirs at the side of the park every day there's pickup, you know? Very
100%.
like this is a very different round 3, round 4, round 5 than last time.
Yeah, I think so for sure. And even with some of the players who are in maybe perhaps even the exact same position that they were drafted previously, um, doesn't mean that they haven't gotten any better. So I think it's important to
Oh,
know that the
100%.
quality of these later rounds has definitely gone up, with way more experience, way more exposure to the game, way more
I
exposure to
think we'll have almost
your
no
serves and all
beginners
that stuff.
in round 5. I think we're like so much of the league has just like moved up to a floor of like low to high intermediate, you know? Like we're like our beginners are intermediate players now, you know? Like our
Yeah,
league, no one in our league is really at a beginner. There's a couple people shout out to our number 70, our good friend Brandon in the chat. I'm excited to see Brandon play because I don't know if he's a beginner or intermediate player yet, but for the most part, we have very few beginners still out here. Uh and like in my mind, there's a big gap between beginner and intermediate in terms of like effort and passion and things like that. You know, like because that's what it takes to get from beginner to intermediate a lot of times is like you have to decide you want to, and like everyone who is in the last league, like, oh no, that's unfortunate.
Zach, you've done it. Well
Yeah,
done. You
I didn't
destroyed
want
the.
to I didn't want to even mention that I had a second brother in the league because I didn't want to put him in any of the captains' minds. I was banking on getting a final round Therrin James. Okay, Zach's actually giving him back. Zach's deciding to pick Paladin James, who he turns 2 years old next month, so he's ready to serve ball.
Yeah, the body defense might be a little bit of a struggle with just the lack of surface area,
But the
but
serve receive height, oh my.
those cycles are going to be wild. It's like this is for sure an athletic stance. Come on.
Yeah, I think Zach's confused a couple of the captains now who are trying to look for Khaled and James in the. Yeah, for anyone wondering, I have a 2-year-old son at home who Zach Brandt's currently trying to draft as his fifth round pick in place of Therrin. Therrin, for anyone wondering who's watching,
But
let me pull up Therrin.
um, swinging back to swinging back to the
This Theron, by the way, this he I registered on his behalf, so this is one of his more obnoxious pictures. He's close to 16, so probably the youngest player in the league this season. But if you've played against him, he subbed for one or two matches last season, and he played solid. His defense still pretty new, but his hitting, I'd say, is at an advanced level. His in-system setting is better than mine and Garrett's, who anyone who plays with us knows we're notoriously unreliable at setting in system. But yeah, Theron's super solid. Uh, he's uh he's pretty short, so defense is a little bit of a struggle still. But yeah, I think he's a very solid round 5 pick. Okay, there's okay, Derek did make his pick in the middle of all the conversation about my family members. That is another of the few people I have not yet met. So I'm excited to see Selina play. Uh, Derek is a solid squad that in the past has won while being carried by some prominent members of Seattle's women's round net community. And so Selina gets to follow in the footsteps of players like Haley, Amanda, and Anita from last season. Derek always being sure to win while representing women's round net in Seattle. Which Jason, any update as to when the next women's division or women's tournament is coming to Seattle? It might be Jason still alive? May have lost him.
Am I audible at this point? Can you hear me?
Oh, I can now hear you.
Yeah, so my computer just decided to explode, I guess. So I am on my cell phone at the moment. So hopefully, I don't think it was probably much of an issue, but I think you were probably talking just fine on your own there.
Always. I'm always down to do enough talking for the both of us when needed.
Fantastic. Yeah. The only thing I was saying before I didn't realize that my Wi-Fi is shut off was just saying that Therrin was a pretty sneaky solid pick for the hitting ability and serving ability down there.
Yeah.
Pretty clean with all of that. Some of the other more kind of defensive and setting oriented things maybe are still a little bit on their way.
Yeah.
But
His out of system setting doesn't exist. His defense doesn't exist. His in system setting, once again, probably better than Garrett's. So it's solid. If he's already in the right position, he's great. You
gotcha.
know?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. And with all that, I mean, playing in a league, that experience will kind of come where you're forced to hit a lot more of those slightly uncomfortable sets. So it might be rough, couple first weeks, but should be something that develops over time. I would be thinking.
Yeah. All right. There's if I'm correct, there's 6 people left to get picked. And I am doing my last one. And the 2 people I was had in my mind, I was going to pick whichever of them was left. They were both just picked, which was Therrin and then David Biatima. They've both been robbed from me. So I'm going to have to look really quick. couple. Let's see
And
who
with
has slipped through the.
Selina, I'm not familiar with her, but
With who?
it looks like
Selina?
with Selina. Do you
Yeah.
have any info?
No, Selena's one of the 6 people who I know nothing about. I just know
Gotcha.
that she's playing on a squad which historically has been a solid women's round net squad.
That is exactly what I was going to say. So yeah, just looking at her registration, so it looks like she's coming from the Joel Yang, the Jason Yu, and the Jonathan Munn kind of group there. So a solid group to be playing with. And then she had mentioned that she generally learns things pretty relatively quickly when it comes to kind of athletic skills. And then being with Erick, who had the most women on his squad in the previous league, which they went on to go and win it. That is a good spot to land, I think, for Selina with Derek's
Yeah,
coachability
100%.
for the women's round net game in Seattle.
Hmm.
Dallin, isn't it your turn?
It is. I'm about to. There's 2 people I'm picking between right now. I think I think I'm going to go with our bottom performer from the scramble. He lost more games than ever. Sorry to shout him out like this. He lost more games than everyone else. He was last place in the scramble, and I just remember his attitude. He was ready. He took it as a sign that like he was ready to go and pop off in the league, and I want this guy. I liked him. He stuck out to me. I'm a fan. I'm gonna take Vasim.
I like it. You're bringing that underdog mentality. You
Oh,
know,
100%.
didn't finish how we'd like to, but he's got the chip on his shoulder now.
Oh yeah.
We coming for
And any good player knows that you can't be at your best until you've gotten wrecked in a couple tournaments first.
yeah,
And so
100%.
Vasim's gotten that out of the way. You know, some of our other guys, like I feel like the 5 that are left, like they might at this point be a little higher skill level wise, but like I feel like Vasim's already hit that important next step, which is if you've gotten wrecked at a tournament, you know what like anyone in listening that has already experienced that, you know what that does for your improvement, right? Because if you've gotten wrecked, that means you've had to go face to face with people who are way better than you, and you've seen how they've beaten you, you've seen why you've lost, and you know what has to change. Like in it, I don't care how much you practice until you go and get wrecked at your first event. Like you have a much lower ceiling, like stopping you from getting much better until you've gone and gotten wrecked. You know?
Yeah, 100%. And does I don't know, does that really only apply to first tournament experience? Because I mean, I've been
No.
dozens of times.
Jason, as someone who has watched you play a couple times in the last year, I feel like you've hit this. You like me, you've been hard stuck for so long without improving, that now that you've hit Premier and you've gone and played your first Premier tourney and gotten slaughtered, you're probably gonna have a massive rush of improvement that you haven't had in so long. You know?
Oh man, that's a good point. All right, I'll take that. Okay. No, man, I didn't even consider it that way. I like that. I'll use that. Thanks, man.
Yeah, I
Shouldn't have said that.
from
You don't know
your
what to do.
one of your ex tourney partners who is hard stuck contender like you were up till a month ago. I wish you the best of luck in your Premier career, Jason.
Oh, too kind. Sneaking in here with the next pick. We got Sougat picking Leah or Leah. I apologize. Either
It's
way, I'm
Leah.
probably wrong. It is Leah.
It's Leah. So Leah's one of our solid Loyal Heights players. Not that we have a lot in the
Gotcha.
league this time around or last time around. Good friends with Griffin. Leah is solid. She's a good setter. She's good at getting her hits on the net. She has a solid drop serve. She still has a little to work with I with things that I feel like most of this league has to work with, which is figuring out how to receive some like serves that she hasn't yet like experienced. I
Yeah.
don't think she's there yet for being able to receive like cut serves or anything like that. But to be fair, like I can't receive those either. So, you know, Leah's probably at about the same place as I am,
And all
but
things
she's solid.
considered, there's not all that many um, substantial cut serves that are out there that you probably really have to be worrying about, especially with some of the structure of the league. That when you're kind of matching some of the lower draft picks, for the most part, playing amongst kind of their same lower end of the draft picks, um, that sort of thing shouldn't be something that she'd have to really worry too much about. So that actually works pretty well for a final round draft pick, where if that's what you're most concerned with in the last round, that's something that you're not really going to be seeing a whole heck of a lot.
Yeah, agreed, 100%. All right, Brandon, our number 70, our friend in the chat, you've been selected by Arthur, this time with a lot less hesitation compared to Arthur's last pick. So one would say Arthur probably is more a fan of you on his squad than Andy.
I think that's a good take. Yeah.
Man, Arthur's squad, definitely a very solid squad to be on if you're wanting some good coaches in between Arthur, who one of the OGs, plus Lucas, who, while he can't play until the final week, he's definitely available. I know he'll be playing pickup. I know he'll be offering coaching advice. Lucas is a brand new premier player as well. So some very solid mentors on that squad. Combined with David Chung, who one of the up and coming Cal Anderson players, who also, you know, lot of David Chung is a very good teacher. While maybe not premier like Lucas, he's still a great mentor to have on the squad. That's a good squad to be on if you're new. Yeah, Arthur knows his coaching business for sure as a
Oh
wrestling
yeah,
coach.
being a literal coach, albeit for another sport, but having a little bit of coaching experience like that definitely does actually make a significant difference.
Yeah,
Uh,
for sure, for sure.
Knowing how to coach somebody, regardless of what you're actually coaching, makes a tremendous difference. So I think that'll be interesting to see Arthur stepping up from his previously he was kind of the co-captain role in the last squad he was on, but now being the head honcho of his own squad, taking some of that initiative and laying down the law and wrestling people to death. I think would be would be interesting to
Yeah,
see.
for sure. Dang. Now the last two people, both solid, no matter which, whether they're going to Jordan or whether they go to Jason. We have uh, we have Kent, who, like I've said a couple times this squad, this draft, Kent made massive improvement from the last season. Uh, I think he was a underrated pick in the last draft, let alone this one, and I think he got drafted around the same spot if he gets picked this time, right? Uh, Yeah, yep. Right, that second to last spot, and he definitely played like he carried his own with Connor. Like him and Connor partnered together, won a lot of nets with like double advanced players. Like Connor plus Kent was a solid force to go against a lot of like 3-4 combos. And so Kent is definitely not a bad one to take. Really, anytime in the last 2 rounds. So definitely
And
surprised to see Kent drop to this point, but like we were saying earlier, the key to a good squad or a winning squad is to have people that dropped farther than they should have. So if you see yourself getting underrated here, maybe underestimated, that's a good sign for you and your squad. That means you're going to do a lot better than expected.
100%. And honestly, since it's been like so million picks since I've
Since the
actually
last time you picked.
who's the other final
So
player?
the last person is Leary. Leary is another of the last people we had join the league. Leary is a friend, maybe a roommate, not totally sure, of G and David Biatima. So as I understand, definitely on the newer side. Probably not someone who minds getting picked this late. He knows he's pretty new. But also someone who probably doesn't have very many bad habits. If he has a solid coach, someone who can probably get like improved pretty fast this season. So that's who I feel like the reason we're not picking is because a while ago Jordan said to call him.
Yeah, I was just gonna mention that because I was looking back through
Yeah,
the
I think he said text him.
yeah. Which finally my computer Wi-Fi now works back again, so that's great. But I don't know if you're already on to the texting him.
I am not. I'm so slow. So while that's happening, man, there are some solid squads that have been built up. Anyone in the chat? I know we still have a decent number of people listening in on this. Anyone want to give some hot takes in the chat on these squads that have been built so far? Who's the who are the top squads here? Okay, all right. Leary got picked next, so Jason getting the highly underrated pick of David Biatima, who
There we
definitely
are.
grinding serves every time I see him. He's ready to pop off this season. Or not David, Kent, sorry.
Yeah.
Mixed up in my head. Sorry.
Wow.
That's what I get for looking in chat while talking. You can see how frazzled I am. That's what happens when this goes for 2.5 hours. Yeah, Kent. Oh my goodness. Definitely an underrated pick. Kent's about to unleash vengeance on the other captains for letting him drop.
Kent, I got you,
So,
my man.
Jason,
Mr.
did you get it?
Irrelevant. We're
Yeah.
taking this thing. Let's
So,
go, Kent.
Jason, did you get a chance to play with or play against Kent last season when you played
I'll
against
be honest.
Connor?
If I did, I think I played Connor the very first week of the season.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that was one, a long time ago, and two, before so many people had a chance to play a whole heck of a lot. So if I did play Kent, I don't remember if I did. I'm sure it's hardly even a comparison from then to what it is now with just the amount of playing that he's had. So probably completely different. And looking forward to it. We'll do what Connor could
definitely.
never do.
Man, yeah, there's some solid squads here. I know I'm looking at mine and I'm cautiously optimistic. Had this been the first season we did this, I'd be extremely optimistic. But last season's draft, I was very optimistic, and then my squad got dragged down with me to a 0-7 start right before we almost upset the number one team in the playoffs, though. So we were going somewhere.
Then you guys
Which,
snag a
yeah,
GG goal against us.
shout out to you and your squad for being our first win.
Being so kind and generous to donate you
Yeah,
guys your
that was very kind of you. Actually, uh, an hour or so ago, we were talking about Sam Wallach Hansen, giving a shout out to him. Uh, and I was planning on adding my shout out to him, which was that he helped my squad gain our first win when Jonathan Chen and I played against you and Sam, and I no touched ace the two of you with backhands like 10 times in one game. That was my shout out, my appreciation to him.
I'll be honest, I don't remember it that way.
Oh,
But
I remember. It was a very good win for my squad, and it was a solid win in that specific game. It feels good to ace someone who goes on a month later to qualify for Premier, you know?
I mean, yeah, I wouldn't say I am a fan of that happening to me, but for somebody who didn't go on and qualify, somebody who qualifies, I'd be like, all right, that's great. But
For
somebody who
sure.
gets out in the quarters, starts cramping up, that feels bad. Feels bad to get aced by somebody like that.
Mhm. No, I'm definitely did Zach? Oh, Zach changed his Discord profile picture, and now I don't recognize him at
Is
all.
it
And
still his weird photo that looks not like him at all?
was that what it was before?
Um, well, it's his league photo, right? The one from like a decade ago or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Uh,
one. I've looked at it every time, and it just kind of makes me recoil in horror.
yeah. It's not recognizable for sure. And this is I'm so excited for this roster though. Just overall, there's so many new people and new, not just new to the sport, but new to the community. Where like the winning squad 100% is going to be determined by which one of these like round 3, 4, 5 picks like pops off. It will not be decided by the captain, co-captain, round 1, round 2.
Yeah.
It's decided by round 3 to 5. That's
Yep.
that's my bold prediction, and I will stand by that.
I don't think it's too bold. I think that's about right. I mean, with the captains, the co-captains, there's bound to be some trading of matches and things like that, where it's not just going to be, there might be a little bit of the Jordan whooping a decent amount of people, but there will be enough solid matchups at the top that it's not going to always be a one-sided thing. And so whoever in the kind of round 3, round 4, round 5 can really be that kind of that Angelo from last season where you're just in that lower spot, but whooping everybody around you in that spot. It really is about those players who take that next level up versus the people who have been a little bit more established up at the top for a while, kind of beat up on each other all the way through.
Yeah,
It'll be
for
very
sure.
interesting.
Yeah, oh man. I'm so pumped for that. It's so good to remember like and no matter how good your captain is one of 7 people and they're only on one net at a time. And if you're winning that net every round, but you're losing the other 2, you're going to lose all your matches. Like looking at all the podium squads from last season, those were squads that were able to send out Angelo and Anita to a 6-7 mirror match or a 5-6 mirror match and reliably beat every other squad's 5-6, Those were squads like Josh's, who was able to send out Garret and Vishal as a 6-7 match to any mirror matchup and reliably win that. So like whichever squad's able to like nurture the newer players in their squad wins 100%, no question.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. And looking forward to it getting kicked off. We are close. What,
Yeah.
20 something hours? 20 hours?
Yep. This is true. Uh we're excited to make that happen.